Hi, I'm Pam Demore, the Decorating Diva, and we are tonight doing something really fun. We have a special guest. We have Mike Venditti from Laurastar. Mike is going to tell us probably more about Laurastars than I even know. I've been using them for a long time, but I've never really been that educated on them. So I just know that I love them. So Mike is going to show us some stuff. Laurastar is one of our corporate sponsors, and we also have our wonderful Baby Luck sewing machines, and we have something new in the back, the Schmetz thread rack. And so if you wish, we've got those little thread guides. If you want a thread guide when you place an order, just put that in the memo and say, Terry, just please throw in a thread guide for me, and she'll be happy to do that. She doesn't want to just hand them out to people to be thrown away, but if you'd like one, just let her know and we'll send you that. There's no charge, and we're happy to do that. All right, so let's get started. Mike, what have you got to show us? Amy's going to pin you and you'll take over.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
No, you should be pinned, Mike.
Okay. Hello, everyone. How are you? Happy Tuesday evening. My name is Mike Venditti. I'm the U.S. sales manager for Laurastar. I happen to be here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm doing the demonstration for you folks. So what I'd like to do is just kind of briefly discuss, who Laurastar is for some of those who have not heard of Laurastar perhaps or have used it before. And also why we're different from the traditional iron that most of the viewers probably have been used to over the years, because Laurastar is quite different, and in terms of how they work and the steam that they throw out and how it affects fabric much more in a positive fashion than, again, what you're all used to. And now what I'll do is I'll actually have some different garments and fabrics to visually show you versus me explaining it to you. So that's where we're going to go. So what I'd like to start with is, again, Laurastar, we're a Swiss company. We're actually 42 years old this year, privately held and totally controlled by a Swiss family. So they've been in the business for a long, long time. They do their own manufacturing in Europe. Okay, they have total control on what goes into these products as well. So point in sharing that with you is Laurastars are made to last a long time. So that's one particular different point than perhaps what a normal iron you may be used to lifetime wise. The average lifespan on any one of these irons is 10 plus years. That's a pretty significant amount of time, but we guarantee parts for that length of time. Typically, no other iron company will do that. So again, when you're talking about Laurastar, you're talking about a high-end professional result at home product that's going to last a long time. Okay. Also, Laurastar manufactures two different categories of products. They're still steam irons, but we manufacture this one behind. I'll be demonstrating on this one. This is a system. This includes the iron. There's a board here. There's a fan built into the board, and there's a boiler down below. That's called a system. We have a couple of variations of that, but one in particular, Pam is offering a special on this evening. Okay. The second version is a portable unit here, and I'll go through this one as well, but we call it the Lift, L-I-F-T. It's a portable unit, which obviously does not include the table and the fan in the table, et cetera, et cetera. So just give you all a visual of what I'm talking about from a lift versus a system, okay? But please keep in mind that in both cases, the irons and the steam perform the same. So that's the key. So the biggest takeaway that I want you all to take away this evening is a lot of different things, but the key thing is the reason why Laurastar is so different than any other iron in the industry is the steam. Okay, it's really that simple. So I'm gonna, by the way, in each one of our irons, there are two buttons. You press either one of those two buttons for steam. And the reason why there's two, if you're left or right-handed. Okay, so always keep that in mind, whether it's a system or the portable lift, there's always two buttons. Now, I don't know if you can see it from America, but I'm pressing, okay, that steam is coming out pretty powerfully, okay? Also, this steam is approximately 300 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? It's also the same temperature as the steam that would come out of the iron at home that you all are used to. Now, I'm putting my hand about a shoulder length away from the steam, okay? I'm not burning my hand. Now, don't do this at home, but if you did this at home with a traditional iron, there's a good chance you could be burning the skin off of your hand because it's hot and it's wet. It's that simple. What comes out of a normal iron that you folks are typically used to are large water droplets. It's that simple, right? The water comes out hot and it comes out wet. With the Laurastar system or the portable unit, the lift, what happens is the water will go into the boiler in both cases, okay? Come up through this cord, which is a 7-foot cord. So there's a water between the water and the iron, there's a 7-foot cord. What happens is that water gets heated up in that boiler and it comes up through the cord. Now, right now in this cord, there are large water droplets. So we're no different than the industry. This is where we separate ourselves. As you can see, this cord gets fed right back into the iron. And on the iron itself here, there's a little, looks like a little racetrack internally, okay? So what it does, it takes these large water molecules that causes ill will typically on your end, right? Spitting, the burning, the ruining of fabric, the burning of your finger, all of those things, okay? It removes a lot of the excess wetness, if you will, and moisture. It still gives you that 300-degree temperature now, but it's a very, very fine steam, okay? So that's the point, the number one point I want to get to everyone listening to this thing is the quality of the steam. That's the difference maker, okay? Because that steam is so different, so much finer, okay? It treats fabric totally different, again, in a much more positive fashion, which I'll show you in a second. Also, if you'll notice, okay, the steam is coming out very powerfully. The traditional iron, when one throws out steam, it typically comes out in spurts, okay? That's what most of you are used to on that side of the table, okay? Now, could you imagine that hot and wet steam that comes out of your iron, if it came out this powerfully, right? It'd be disaster. You'd burn everything in its path, wouldn't you? It's that different. Also, another reason why it comes out so powerfully, there's no elbow grease required by the user of the iron, okay? There's no need to put any pressure on this iron, whether it's the system or the portable lift, none whatsoever. And here's my version of, okay, none. So again, that steam will penetrate that fabric without the user. And that's important, especially if someone may be arthritic or bad knuckles or just get fatigued when they iron, especially if they iron a fair amount each day. It's a big, big difference. Okay, so that's the key takeaway is that steam and why we're different.
Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, I know that all the Laurastars have a built-in filtering system, but Beverly was asking about, she has hard water. She's got well water. Does she need to do any extra filtering? I know that we have lake water and we have a water filter that comes into the house. So we use the water right from the tap and she's got a water softener. Does she need to do anything else besides that?
No. And I'll get to that point, by the way. These all have filters. This has a filter system and the portable unit has a filter because these require minerals in the water, okay? Now, that's another different point that perhaps you may have been used to. A lot of the older irons require distilled water. Distilled water has no minerals in it. We require minerals because, again, I'll show you that in a second, okay? But that's, to answer your question, is just use the filter that comes with it. Okay?
Because that filter knows what the iron needs and it takes care of it for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll go very specifically to discuss the filter in a few moments. I'll take you right through the whole thing, okay?
Perfect.
Just as a broad responses, at this point, just use the filter and I'll show you how it works and can I help you connect the dots a little bit more, okay?
Okay.
So what I want to do now is, again, what I'm sharing with you, I call this a little bit of breadcrumbs here and there kind of thing in terms of why Laurastar is different. But collectively, it adds up to a slice of bread. If that's my kind of a corny analogy, but that's kind of what I'm building up to. So all these little things collectively make us different and why we're so much more effective in the industry. Okay. First and foremost is the steam. The second difference is, if you can see from here, this is the face of the Laurastar iron. As you'll see, the top half of the iron only has holes for steam. The bottom half of the face of the iron is completely solid, okay? I've got a Rowenta iron in my other hand here. What do you typically see on this type of iron? Holes from top to bottom, okay? The reason why I'm sharing this with you is, remember, the hot and wet moisture that comes out of this thing, it's just loaded, isn't it? Top to bottom. So that big gob, if you will, goes right into your fabric, and that's where it stays for a while, okay? Whereas Laurastar, what happens in this case is the front half, okay, when you press either one of these two buttons and it throws out steam, remember that powerful steam, what it'll do, it'll penetrate the fabric, loosen that fabric up, and immediately will disappear. The moisture will immediately dissipate. Whereas this, again, sticks around, doesn't it? Big difference now. So the top half being steam will loosen that fabric up, do its job, and disappear. The bottom half is heat, which means when you put heat onto a piece of fabric, after it gets loosened up, it fixes itself. And by definition, we say when it fixes itself, it gives you the end result. Okay, so a big difference. And I'll show you, I've just got a cotton piece of a cotton square here. It's very wrinkled. Okay, so what I want to do is, this thing is completely wrinkled. I'm going to go across the face of this piece of fabric one time. Okay, remember, steam ahead, heat back, just one time up and down. Okay. Now again, if you could see this, where I iron this thing, by the way, is completely ironed, but more importantly, it's completely dry. Okay, a big difference than this. You'd have to do this a couple of times with this, and this still would have moisture in it, because again, the hot and wet stuff comes out of this thing. Okay, I'm going to keep reiterating that fact because it's that big of a difference. Okay, so again, the face itself is different. Another big advantage of Laurastar. Also, the face of this iron is completely flat. The traditional iron will be flat in the bottom. It'll go a slight incline from back to front. Not as significant, but slight. But in either case, in this case, excuse me, it requires the user to, guess what? To put pressure on the iron to iron properly. Okay, where again, the steam penetrates the fabric, but more importantly is, because this is completely flat, okay, it covers the entire surface of the fabric quicker than you have when you put pressure on this thing. Okay, again, another difference. Also, the face of this iron is developed to look like a water drop, believe it or not. Okay, if you look at the Laurastar logo, you'll see a little blue, light blue water drop. Well, this is simulated after that. So again, we feel that this water drop face is the most efficient and quickest way to get the job done. Okay, from a surface standpoint. Okay. Also, what you'll see on a few of the lifts in the systems is on the iron itself, is you'll see there's no dial here, right? There's no dial for temperature gauge difference. Whereas the normal iron here, which most of you are used to, right? There's a dial here that you have to use back and forth, depending on the fabric. Okay. And I'm going to show you the advantages of not having this dial and why it makes sense, why we developed it, and this type of iron still has it. Okay, but again, another little tidbit of information that you need to know what separates us from everybody else. Okay, so what I want to do first and foremost is, so in general, that's kind of Laurastar in a nutshell. Okay, in terms of the differences and so forth. What I'd like to do now is demonstrate and show you how the system works. Okay, this is called a Smart U. That's our term in the industry. It's called a Smart U. So if you go on our website, see it someplace, you'll see Smart U. This is what we're talking about. Okay, it's an integrated system, which means down below here is the boiler. Okay, from the boiler, this is a cord that's 7 feet long, and again, that cord feeds back into the iron. And what happens is we own that technology. It's called twice heated steam, which means the water goes into the boiler, gets heated up, comes up through the cord and gets cooled down slightly. And then, remember, it gets fed back into the iron. It gets heated up a second time. And what happens is, in addition to those water molecules being ground up and everything, okay, because it gets heated up a second time, that's an additional, advantage of removing a lot of the excess wetness, if you will. Okay, so it's called twice heated steam. It gets heated, it gets cool, and heated up again. Again, that's the technology that we own. It's the same technology, by the way, as a professional. So we're talking about you being the user using a Laurastar at home. You're getting a professional result every time you use it. Okay, you're not even coming close to this type of thing. Okay, so again, another big difference between the two. So what I like to do is, again, on the system, it includes the table. Now, inside the table on this end here, the fat end, if you will, okay, there's a fan. Now, when you move the iron, it engages the fan. If I don't move the iron, the fan does nothing. Now, some people may ask, well, if I'm ironing with the Laurastar system, right, I don't want that fan to working. Do I have a choice? The answer is no, you don't. Okay, and that question is typically asked by someone who has not used a Laurastar to see the advantages of the fan up and the fan down, which I'm about to show you. Okay, so again, when you move the iron, it engages the fan. Okay, now the fan will do always one of two things. The fan will push air up through the board, or the fan will pull air down through the board. Either one. Okay, so what I want to show you from a visual standpoint, this is a piece of silk, which I'm going to demonstrate in a second. But I want to show you the power of the fan. Okay, so if you can look at, can you see this okay, Pam, right here?
Yep, we can see
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You see it popping up, everybody, when I move the iron? Okay, this particular fabric now is on a bed of air. There's a fan blowing this fabric up. It's pushing the fabric up. And if I put my hand between the board and the fabric, I'm going to physically feel a breeze in there. Okay, it's actually pushing the air up. And I'm going to show you in a second the advantage of using it. But for the sake of this, I just want you all to visualize what I'm talking about versus, hey, the fan pushes air up and I go on to something different. Now you've all visually seen what I'm talking about. And in a second, it'll make a lot of sense. Okay, so the fan's up. Now, I want to put the fan down. How do you do that? On the iron itself, okay, there's the two buttons, if you remember, for the on-off, okay? There's also a button in the front here. And by the way, there's a picture of a fan on that button. So let's do this again. Okay, you're going to see it. Let me turn the fan speed up. Okay, so right now, it's popping up. I'm going to press and hold the steam button. Watch what happens to this garment when I do that. So you go right back down. Now what happens is that fan is pulling the steam through the table. Okay, so again, fan down, pulls it through, fan up, you'll see the iron get a bed of air. So I'm going to show you here now the advantage of the fan down. And I'm going to simulate that with, I've got 7 pieces, again, of cotton. They're all the same size. Have you ever seen a crease in a quilt that's very, very tough to get out? Or the end of a fabric roll that's very tough to get out, that crease? In most cases, in many cases, in fact, the normal iron, traditional iron, typically doesn't do that. Okay, they just can't, it just doesn't have the ability to do so. Well, I'm going to try to simulate that crease in a quilt. Okay, wrinkle up these pieces of fabric. And again, very wrinkled on both sides. So what I'm going to do is, again, I don't think you can see it from your angle, but I'm going to hit the steam button. The steam button is going to go through this fabric and physically through the table. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do one side and the other side, that quick. Okay, and I'll cut back all the layers, for example, and I'll take this last one, for example. Guess what? It's completely ironed, but completely dry. Okay, completely dry, no moisture versus the traditional iron. So again, when you have a heavy fabric that needs that fan, that you need to pull through that fabric, crease in a quilt, blue jeans, anything thick fabric. Okay. Now also what you'll see is once the steam goes through the table on the system, as soon as it goes through the bottom of the table, it immediately goes out the back of the table. That's advantageous because what if you like to sit when you iron? What if you're in a wheelchair when you iron, etc., right? You want to burn your lap, do you? So again, we've thought about that too. That fan will pull the air through and immediately go out the back. Another big selling point that you don't get with other irons. Okay, and you wouldn't know it until now, of course, if I explained it to you. Okay, so again, that fan down, that's when you want to use it. So conversely, fan up is when you've got a lighter fabric. Okay, so what I'll do, now I've got a cotton shirt. Again, that's a light fabric. Now, cotton, we don't need it to pull through that fabric, do we? It's a lighter fabric. We don't need the horsepower to pull it through. So again, I'm gonna, if you can see, it's very wrinkled. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna move the iron. Let's say you got this at home, you just plugged it in, you're moving the iron, you try to remember now, what is it, up or down? I don't know. Well, when in doubt, press the button of the fan, which I've just done. Now I can visually see what's going on, okay? So that's another little tidbit of information. If you happen to get one of these at home, you move the iron, it's not malfunctioning, okay? Press the button, it'll tell you what's going on, because if you move the iron and nothing's happening, I know the fan is pushing it down. That's why it doesn't move. Okay, so again, another little example. So here we go. Right now, we're going to be ironing on a bed of air, and this fan is cooling this fabric down. If you felt this in person, okay, this cotton shirt is now cool. Remember I said the heat will loosen fabric up, and the steam will loosen fabric up, and the heat will fix it. Same thing here, except the heat will loosen the fabric up. In this case, the fan will cool the fabric. It's called cold ironing. Okay, it gives you the end result the same way. So here we go. Okay. That quick. Okay. It's completely ironed, but again, completely dry. Okay, so again, it's just I'm making, I'm going to be saying that a lot throughout this presentation, because again, when you get this at home, you'll understand. That's why I'm really trying to hone in on those points. Okay, so also the system and the portable lift also come with what's called a sole plate. Okay, this is Teflon. It's Teflon. Okay, so the face temperature of our irons, whether it's the system or the lift, is about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, approximately. Okay. Now, when you use a traditional iron, right, if you want to adjust to a piece of fabric, you have to use this dial, don't you? Okay. To me, that's playing Russian roulette on your fabric. Okay, trying to get that thing straight. Okay. Whereas Laurastar, okay, by putting the sole plate on, and it just simply goes on like this. It just tip the front and just clicks on. Okay. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to push one of the two steam buttons. Okay. I just ran steam through the face of that sole plate, which again, a second ago, it was room temperature, right? Well, now that face temperature, guess what, is 170 degrees Fahrenheit. We went from 350 to 170, didn't we? We didn't have a dial in the middle, did we? Like you normally used to. Went 350 to 170. And that 170 face temperature now, okay, is the right temperature on any fabric whatsoever. You don't have to protect your fabric. You don't have to put something on your fabric like people have to do with the normal irons. All those things are simply thrown out the window. 350 to 170 and you're ready to go. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to the silk here. And what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to have the fan up, right? Because it's a sensitive fabric. It doesn't need to be pulling through the table. I can visually see it. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm gonna hover over the silk. I'm not gonna put this physically on the silk. I'm gonna hover maybe 1/8 of an inch. Okay, but more importantly is I'm gonna throw out that same steam. Remember at the beginning, folks? That same steam that's gonna burn the skin off of your hand. I'm going right over the silk. Here we go. Okay, completely dry. No residual, no water droplets. I'm not hanging this thing up to let it dry. What I have to do with a normal iron. Okay. Also, this is a great visual. I think it's probably one of the biggest wow factors. I hope you'll agree. So I'm taking the sleeve of this silk, and what I'm doing, I'm just folding the sleeve under. And what I'm going to do is, you can see this is very wrinkled right now, this arm. Okay. I'm going to throw steam into the armpit and watch this thing kind of explode or expand. Okay. It was that quick. Okay. The sleeve is completely ironed and completely dry. Again, okay. So I know most of you aren't going to be using silk every day, but the reason why I'm using silk in this case, it's a great visual to reiterate the fact of why our steam is so different. And hopefully that'll put your mind at ease regarding that. Okay.
They are liking that trick, Mike.
Mike, yeah, you just got me on that one too.
Okay.
That's great.
So
Mike,
that's the reason why. Yeah.
I use the Teflon sole plate on my iron all the time. That's okay, right? I mean, I always, every now and then someone will say, what temperature do you use? And I'm like, I just don't use any temperatures. I just use the Teflon plate and I never need to worry about it.
In terms of, yeah, well, that's not always right. And the reason I'm
Okay.
sharing that with you is, in some cases, you need that 350-degree temperature. If you want to maximize the performance of this, you need that hot face temperature. Blue jeans, quilt, right? You need that hot face temperature with that steam penetrating the fabric, right? Well, the flip side, right? You don't need the 350-degree. You need 170. So again,
Just a minute, Mike. Well, Mike, wait
Mike,
just a minute.
Hold on, Mike. I inadvertently muted you trying to mute someone else.
Someone else had their sound on. Okay, we got.
I'll need you to unmute, Mike. I apologize.
You have to unmute on your end. Yeah, sorry. I think we can't do it, can we?
No, I can't.
Yeah, someone had their sound on and
The name moved on me as I was clicking.
the
can you
yeah.
hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. Thank you.
What about
Folks,
the
remember,
leave
keep
off?
your microphone off because it interrupts the flow of the class. Thank you.
So Pam's question was, she leaves her sole plate on all the time. Okay, so my response to that would be, you're not maximizing the use of the iron, whether it's the system or the portable lift, by leaving the sole plate on all the time.
Okay, good
Reason
to know.
being is, in some cases, you need that 350-degree face temperature. Blue jeans, quilt, multi-piece of fabric, you need that temperature. Okay. So again, then if you're doing a lighter fabric, you go to the sole plate.
Okay.
Now, is it the end of the world if you don't? But no, my analogy is, if you want this thing to fire on all 12 cylinders with thick fabric, use the 350. If you put the sole plate on in that case, you're diminishing the ability of this thing to perform properly. So you're taking that 12-cylinder down to about a 10-cylinder or a 9-cylinder. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep,
So-
makes sense. Thank
So
you.
there's a clear advantage of taking that sole plate off when you don't use it. Also, it's not healthy for the iron to keep this on all the time. Not
Okay.
healthy. Okay. So again, when in doubt, heavy fabric, this off, 350, lighter fabric, this on, 170. And if you can kind of differentiate till you get used to it, that's the best way to maximize this whole thing. Okay. So
Michael, I think if you don't mind taking a break, we've got a bunch of questions people have been asking. So we
ahead.
asked, kind of hold off on their questions. So one of the ladies asked, she has a Laurastar Magic Evolution from 2003, and she wondered about the filter. So I know that my older Laurastars have the granules that you put in, the crystals that you put in the water tank. That what she has? I don't know. I don't know that model.
The answer is yes. She doesn't have a preloaded filter. The preloaded filters were only came into existence a couple of years ago. So, ma'am, this gal you're talking, she has a little bag of granules that you have to pour in there. Okay, those granules in the newer systems are in a self-contained packet, if you will, that slip in there. So
we also had a question, can you use as a dry iron when you need to?
yes, don't press the steam button.
Okay.
Here, I'll show the cartridge real quick here. Amy, if you want to spotlight me real quick, I just want to show
I can show you right here.
Oh, you got one right there. Okay, never mind.
Here's in the system. Here's the water tank with a tap. You put this right underneath your tap in your kitchen. Okay, fill it up, slide it back on top of the boiler. Now, what comes with this is, oops, right, a little slippery here. Okay, there's a filter right here. Okay, can everyone see it?
Yep.
This filter is all contained unit. It's solid. You can't get into it. Okay, so the water, it just literally clicks in here. Okay,
That's
water
better.
comes- water comes from the tap, which is loaded with minerals. It comes through the filter, and what you want to go into the boiler is water with a few minerals. And again, I'll show you in a second what that represents and what it means. Okay. Next question.
Let's see. Does it matter what ironing board cover you use? I have a Bow Nash and was wondering if that makes the temperature too hot.
So in that case, you'll only be using the Laurastar portable, right?
Right.
Okay. You can use any ironing board you have at home with the Laurastar lift, any whatsoever. Now, the key to maximize that is most ironing boards have a perforated top, holes all over the place, right? And a perforated bottom, holes all over the bottom of it. Okay. With a typical iron, traditional iron, when you start throwing out steam, okay, that steam tends to accumulate in the board or below the board cover. It may be dropping onto your floor kind of thing. Remember what comes out of the iron, folks, the first 2 minutes of this conversation, right? Large water droplets. So that's what you're going to be used to. With the Laurastar, remember it's fine in this dry. You can still use that same board. In that case, it's going to go, in. You'll have no accumulation of any kind of moisture whatsoever. So it'll work absolutely fine. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Judy says her Magic Evolution system does not have the crystals, but if before the crystals, there was I know my very first one came with a carafe, and there was crystals in the carafe that you had to put in, and then you had to filter the water through that carafe, and then you poured that carafe into the iron. I think that's what she might have, but I'll have her Judy call me call me tomorrow, and we'll discuss what you
I know
have.
exactly what she's got. It's exactly right.
Okay.
She has to pour the granules in this plastic bowl, run the water in the bowl, so it's a lot more cumbersome, but the same end result. But go ahead.
Yeah. My first one was like that. I first Laurastar, but way back, like 20 years ago. Okay, questions, folks?
So Charlene would like to know, can you use this iron to adhere fusibles?
I do it every day.
There you go. There's your answer.
And Debbie Cole would like to know, how often does the filter need to be changed?
Filter lasts between 10 and 15 hours of use. But let me define the word use. People get hung up on this. People tend to think if this thing is plugged in for 10 to 15 hours, I'm going to use a filter every single day. That's crazy. No. By definition of use is when you physically press and hold the steam button. Here we go. Okay, that's 3 seconds of use between that 10 and 15 hours. This, by looking at the unit, we can stand here all day long and there's 0 seconds of use. Okay, 10 and 15 hours of use. Now, the next question perhaps maybe from your side is, why is there such a swing between 10 and 15 hours? Okay, remember the reason why these filters exist, because again, inside the boiler of the system, inside the boiler of the portable unit, which we cannot see, there are two electronic eyes. Okay, when you plug these things in and they get full of steam, okay, if they overflow, that's the result that you all are used to: the hot, the wet, the spitting, the burning, the ruining. Okay, with the Laurastar, when that gets to 100%, the reason why it stops and never overflows is that little electronic eyeball, if you will, sends a message through the water to the other one saying, stop, we're full. Okay, well, guess what carries the message? Minerals. Okay, important point. So if you use distilled water, it will in fact spit. It's a fact of life. Okay, which I'm sharing that with you is most people perhaps have been used to using distilled water. Now, all these years later, I'm saying no more. You got to use tap water. So that's the reason why I explained it. Okay, so let's get back to the 10 to 15 hours. In general terms, we tend to see that the southeast part of the US, the water that comes out of most people's taps in general now are much more laden with minerals than Oregon, than Washington State, which means if I'm a filter in Florida, I got to work harder than my cousin up in Washington State, don't I? Okay, hence the reason between the 10 to 15 hours. So you understand that. Now, in terms of the system, when do you replace the filter? How do you know it's 10 to 15 hours? When the first filter is first put in, you'll see it's completely navy blue in color. Okay, over the course of time, 10 to 15 hours, that will go from a navy blue to a complete, it's the same color as a banana that you've had outside in your counter too long, kind of that brownish, yellowish. When the entire filter becomes that color, it's time to replace it. If you've got just a little bit of navy blue left in that thing, you've still got life in the filter, okay? So it's a visual thing. Next question.
So Mike, I know like with my irons downstairs, the ones where I have the systems, I watch the granules, and when they turn colors, I know it's time to change it. But folks, those crystals last a long time. I mean, I iron a lot. My portable, I think the cartridge usually I think they last me about 2 years. So, you know, and I just use that for my webinars, but still I do a lot of ironing during the webinars, which you all know. And I you know, don't worry about having to, I would say under normal use, you're probably going to get close to a year out of each cartridge. Okay. Mike, wouldn't it be nice if there was some sort of special with the cartridges?
Yes, it would be. Pam's going to share that with you in a second. So,
Mike, do you sell the tables separately for somebody who already has the iron?
yes, we sell separate tables. Nothing is, you know, it's not this one. It's just a regular ironing board. But our ironing boards are made in Italy, folks, which means it's totally different than what you are used to in a traditional department store or wherever you're going to buy one. Ours are a lot more durable. Okay, that's the key. Remember, Laurastar, high-end product, longevity. The same thing applies with our ironing boards.
And they're bigger than a standard ironing board too, aren't they?
Slightly, not much, but just slightly.
Okay.
Okay. Any
But
questions?
remember, folks, that standalone ironing board won't have the fan in it.
Again, it's just a standalone ironing board, just like the one you got at home, folks. But again, the board itself is a lot more durable. It has nothing to do with this. No fan, no anything. Just the board by itself. So let me move on here so we can get this thing, you know. So what I want, I'm sorry, are there any other questions?
Carol wanted to know the price of the filters. It's about $75 for a 3-pack. They come in a 3-pack, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to briefly explain this particular smart use. So if you get it at home, you need to know how to use it. On the boiler, there's going to be 4 buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 buttons. Okay. Now on the system and the portable unit lift, okay, when you turn these things, when they turn them on, or when you turn them on, if you don't use them within 10 minutes, folks, it automatically shuts off. Okay. Now, in some cases, that's great. But in most cases, it's a pain in the neck, isn't it? What if you come back 11 minutes later or 12 minutes later and it's off every time you come back? What do you have to do with a normal iron? You turn it back on, wait for it to crank up, and off you go. Do that all day long. Talk about a lot of the wasted time. Okay, with Laurastar system and the portable lifts, the top button in this particular unit, the top button is used for two reasons: on off, and if you press and hold the on off button for 10 full seconds, what you'll see on the side of the on off button is a bunch of lights blink up and down. Looks like a runway at night in an airport. Okay, when those lights begin to blink, remove your finger. Guess what? At that point in time, this thing is staying on as long as you want it to until you turn it off again. Okay, key point, by the way, no other iron does that. So 10 minutes or the ability to override. The top button, that's the reason why it exists. The bottom button, remember I showed you the speed of the fan? There's 4 speeds of fan, and that bottom button will simply adjust the speed of the fan. The speed of the fan is, if you happen to get this, it's really a personal preference when you get to use it. Low, high, higher, highest. Again, it's all, you'll see instantaneously what works for you, but you have the option. So top button, on off only, bottom button, fan only. The second button down from the top. So I'm going to lean over and I'm going to press the second button down from the top. And next to it, there's a little white light, which means it's on. Okay, so it's called sense esteem, which means when the iron, by the way, the proper way to iron is straight ahead and straight back. We also realize in reality, most people don't iron that way. Most people will iron as follows. Right? Okay, and I think in general, Pam, your audience will agree that in general, that's how most people iron. Okay, a lot of movements, wasn't there? A lot of zigzagging, wasn't there? By the way, if you use Laurastar, you'll cut your ironing time at least in half. Now that's a pretty bold statement. How do we support that? Well, one of the reasons is this. Ken, the movements versus this. Done. Okay. Now, let's get back to the sense esteem. The reason I'm sharing this will now make sense. Because the most efficient way to iron is straight ahead and straight back. What the sense esteem mode now is, when I move this iron forward, it throws out steam automatically without me having to press a steam button. Okay, it senses the iron moving forward. Here we go. I'm not pressing a button. Okay, I'm not pressing a button. Now, if I go left and right, there's no steam. It only throws out steam when you move it forward. The advantage there is now it's going to teach the user to iron more efficiently without even knowing it, right? All those wasted movements versus this, okay? Again, it's light, it penetrates the fabric, it's flat, all those things, and it's much easier on the body and the elbows and the knuckles, etc. So the second button down from the top represents sense esteem. Steam will only come out moving the iron forward. You don't have to press the steam button in that case for the steam to come out, okay? The last one is the third button down from the top. I'm going to lean over and press that. So the light on the second button went off. The little white light next to the third button is now on. So now I know visually that is on, okay? And what that is, it's called pulsating, okay? So if you want steam, remember, right, you want steam? Well, with the pulsating mode, third button down from the top, if you can, listen to the flow of the steam now when I press and hold the steam button. Can you hear that, Sam? Can everyone hear that?
I can do an instant replay.
Yeah, so it's coming out like this, it's coming out in spurts, okay? And I'm not, it's coming out like this, folks, but guess what? I'm not doing this, am I? I'm pressing and holding the button, and it's automatically spurts, spurts, spurts. It's pulsating, okay? And the advantage to use pulsating is when you require ironing that requires a slow iron, okay? And I'm not doing this, am I? If you did this with your arm, you're going to lose control of the iron, and your four fingers are going to get pretty darn tired pretty quick. Versus, okay, so that third one down is called the pulsating, and that's designed to use, again, if you're doing something that requires slow ironing, so you don't inundate the fabric with moisture, okay, or steam. But again, remember that steam is dry and it goes in and dissipates. Okay, so on the Smart U, if you decide to get one, those are the four buttons that represent, that does what it does. Okay, now what I want to show you here on the portable unit. Okay, portable unit, integrated system. Guess what, folks? Same steam, same faceplate, same iron, same cord, same everything. They work, they perform exactly the same. This also comes with a sew plate, okay? Just like this, okay? So with this, portable one also comes with a rubber mat, right? So this will go on your ironing board you have at home. And in the case of the Laurastar, the iron goes flat, not up like this. It goes flat. So this rubber mat will keep your iron from burning your board cover. Okay. Also, this is called a lift because you can put this on the floor or physically lift it up and put it on a table or a countertop or wherever. Also, remember that cord, as I said, was 7 feet long. Guess what? This is also 7 feet long. So,
And Mike, you might want to add too that there is a stand for that lift too. I mean, I don't usually talk about it, but there is a lift that they need if they don't want to put it on the floor, they don't have a place on the ironing board for the base of it. There is a special stand for that too.
Called a steam cart. Steam cart. It's just something that you can actually put this unit on the bottom of it. Okay, and it's got 4 wheels. You can move it around, and on top you can hang a garment so you can vertically steam. That's what Pam was referring to. It's called a steam cart. Now let's get back to this. Remember that cord, 7 foot long. So now you've got a wingspan of 7 feet, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to, long arm quilters love this. You know why? They can bring the Laurastar fine dry steam to the fabric when it's on the long arm. Okay, big advantage. Also, if you want to take this and refresh the curtains in your house, okay, or you want to refresh something, your sport coat or anything of that nature, okay, because the steam that comes out of both of these kills 99.9% of germs, fungi, bacteria. It'll also kill the Corona-19 virus in fabric. Okay, another big side point. Okay, again, that steam is also that effective. Now, if we remember on the system, remember I asked you all to hold the on-off button for 10 seconds. When you see a light blink, you remove your finger. With the portable lift, it's the same exact thing. Okay, this is the on-off button. So I'm going to press and hold this on-off button for 10 full seconds. In this case, folks, on either side of the on-off button, there's 2 little eyeballs, if you will. They're going to become red and they're going to blink. Okay, when that does that, remove your finger. Guess what? I've now overridden it in this case as well. It stays on as long as you want it to. So good. System or lift, press and hold for 10 seconds, light blinking on the system, 2 little lights blinking on the side of the on button on the lift. They both perform the same function. Okay, so there's continuity in terms of how they work. Okay, excuse me. As Pam will share with you in a second, we're offering a couple of different versions of this in a couple of different colors. Okay, but the thing to keep in mind is, again, they perform the same. Now, remember I showed you the filter on the system. Okay, on the portable unit, it comes, here's the filter. Okay, same exact scenario, same exact function. Water goes through the filter, goes into the boiler, and what you want to go into the boiler is water with a few minerals, so we can carry that message, okay? Now, how do we know when to replace this filter, right? There's no visual because it's self-contained, isn't it? Well, guess what? In 10 to 15 hours, okay, if you get one of these units, on the left side, there's a little red eye. When it blinks, you'll see there's a picture of a water droplet, which means when you're using this and it requires more water, this thing will beep and it'll chirp. And you can look and say, it needs more water. Okay. The one on the other side will beep, chirp, and visually blink when the filter has to be replaced. So it could be a year and a half from now, and that light on the right side blinks. Guess what? Time to replace the filter. Okay. So again, in this case, it's a visual. In this case, it's a little electronic eyeball is going to tell you. Okay. So maintenance-wise, two things. Replace the filter, and you want to drain the boiler once a month, whether it's the system or the portable unit. So how do you drain the portable unit? On the bottom of each one, right here on the bottom, there's a little screw cap. Now make sure this thing is off all night long. Okay. Tomorrow morning, take a screwdriver or a quarter, unscrew it, and just tip it over. Let that water just physically drain out of the boiler. Okay. In the case of the system, okay, the system comes with a white plastic tray. This tray will slip underneath the bottom of the boiler. And on the boiler, okay, there's a screw cap on the top and a screw cap on the bottom. When you slip this under the bottom of the boiler, unscrew both caps and that water just physically drains out. Okay, same exact scenario, folks. And what that does is, because there are going to be some minerals that will escape that filter that will accumulate in the bottom of the boiler here and the bottom of the boiler here. And if you do it once a month, that's analogous to a 5,000-mile oil change to a high-end automobile. Okay, so that's the maintenance. Drain them once a year, I apologize, drain them once a month, and then replace the filters when they have to be replaced. Okay, now, if something should go wrong, okay, the warranty is 12 months, our parts and our labor. We don't want an individual or a third party working on these things, because usually bad things end up happening because if they're not versed how to work on these things, okay? It's a toll-free number that you'll call. Our office is in Medford, Oregon. The gentleman will help you through the whole process in terms of, troubleshooting it over the phone. And if it needs to be repaired, it's a very effortless, seamless function, if you will, once you get it, okay? So we pay very close attention to you as a consumer once you buy it. So always keep that in mind as well, okay? So I know we've got about 7 minutes left. So Pam, if you want to talk about specials or if there's any other questions at this point.
I do. For one thing, too, folks, I have two systems downstairs, and my older one, it was just, I think it needed a new O-ring or something. It had like a little steam leak, and I couldn't seem to get it to stop. So I sent it back, and they did some maintenance on it, and they did charge me because it's well out of warranty, but it was a lot cheaper than buying a whole new system. So I think it ended up being less than $200 for a system that retails for about almost $3,000. So there you go. So we have several on special tonight. I did send an email right before the webinar started. So I did that so that you could go to the website and have the links there, so you didn't have to write down the links. But the Smart U retails for $26.99, $2,699. We are not allowed to sell it below what they call the MAP pricing, the minimum advertised pricing. So the minimum advertised pricing for that is $2,499, which is what we're selling it for. But I kind of browbeated Mike's boss at VDTA and said, come on, throw in something extra. Give me a better discount or throw in something extra. So she's throwing in the set of the box of 3 filters, which is a $75 value. And then we are also throwing in our webinar subscription. And if you already have it this year, you can do it for next year. And a free wool pressing mat. So the Smart U, when you add all that together, it's a retail of about $3,024 and we're selling it for $2,499. So that's about what, $600 savings. The Lift Extra Aluminum and the Titan's the one that I've been using. You've been watching me use that for about 1.5 years now, maybe 2 years. I've had it for a while. That package is $1,274. We're selling it for $849. Again, you're saving about $400. And then the pink one that Mike was showing and the light blue, the sky blue one, that package is a $1,224. And we're selling that for $799. So again, about $400 off. So you're getting about $600 off on the big one and about $400 on the portables. And those links, if you check your email, I just sent an email out about 6:30 tonight with the link on the webinar, because we've got 2 specials going on because we have a webinar later at 9 o'clock. So we have that was the Laurastar link, and the password to get into that secret sale is
You didn't tell me.
I can't remember now. It was really cute too. I think it's Grab a Star, GRABASTAR, all uppercase. Okay. Case sensitive, grab a star, which I thought that was clever on Terry's part. But you folks know me, a lot of you've been with me for like over 10 years, and this is all you see me use is the Laurastar. This is what we use downstairs. If you've been to my house for a retreat or a boot camp, that's what we use in the workroom. This is what we use in the house. And I mean, well, Fran can tell you, Fran came to sew a couple summers ago, and she's like, she just came for a visit. Actually, she came to visit and she was just like, okay, I'm buying one. You got one in stock? I said, here you go. I had a box ready for her. And she hasn't regretted it. But I think, Mike, I learned a lot about the irons today that I didn't know. So thank you so much. I know everyone was just really like so excited. Are there any more questions that we didn't get to?
Is there any other cleaning besides that once a month drainage that you do on the machines, Mike?
No, that's the only maintenance. Drain it once a month, replace the filter.
Okay.
That's it.
Anyone else?
There's a question, are there any freebies with the portable units, or was that just
Well,
with the system?
everyone that you buy through us, we're giving you a 1-year membership to the webinars, and we're giving you a wool pressing mat. So that's and so we're adding that on to each bundle. Okay, so it's on every, whether you get the system or whether you get the portable, we're adding from our pocket the same deal. Okay, and Mike's adding from his pocket the 3-pack of cartridges. Okay, if you already have a Laurastar and you just want 1 cartridge, we do keep them in stock and we sell them individually. So if you want, it's not on our website, but just call me and I'll pop one in the mail to you. But we do sell them as onesies for anyone that doesn't want to have all 3 at one time.
Rita purchased the system about a year ago and it's still in the box. Who
Rita?
does she contact to ask questions?
Well, you can call me or you can call Laurastar. They have an 800 number. Mike, do you know the 800 number off the top of your head?
Yes, first of all, I'll give you the toll-free number, but in that case, call me. I'll take you through it. Okay. Our office in the West Coast is 1-800-428-2804.
Okay, that's what toll-free number.
So
then
they're
Mike.
in Oregon, which means you're on the West Coast hour-wise from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Now, if you call that number and say, hi, can someone tell me about Laurastar? They're going to say, call me, Mike Vendetti. Here's his phone number. Okay. So if you got a question, or Pam. So let me give you my phone number if you need to contact me with help, especially if you take it out of the box and 704 877 2362. That's my cell phone in North Carolina, hence the 704 area code. Now, if you've got a question about it's not working or warranty, any kind of thing, it's the 1-800 number. Okay. If you want something else,
Is Shane the one to ask for that?
Say again?
Is Shane the one they should ask for if they have if they have like a
Shane, S-H-A-N as in Nancy, E. It's a he.
Shane?
Ask for
Yes.
Shane. Shane does all the warranty repair work on all the Laurastar, and he's very good to talk to, take you through it very effortlessly.
He is. He's really nice. He's really nice. Yes.
I know you're doing an instant replay, but is this recording going to be available in the library for the members?
Yes, it will be. Yes.
We had a question on how the cord holder works.
The cord holder. I don't use the cord holder. I don't even know if it's probably downstairs, but it's got like a little pigtail curly Q, and that's how the cord kind of goes into it. And then it's got a little like a C clamp that hooks onto your ironing board. Can you show them one? Do you have one that's separate? It's not hooked up.
1 second, excuse me, sorry.
Good questions, folks.
Pam, do you know, does the tank need to be drained if you're storing your used system?
I would say if you're going to store it for a long time, I would definitely drain it. Yes.
Here's the cord holder. So it's got a C clamp on it. So the C clamp attaches to your board at home, folks. Okay, and this is what you've got.
Yep.
The system comes with one as well. Here it is in action. Okay, so this will come with the lift extra and the lift plus, the pink, the sky blue, the Titan, and the aluminum. Okay, it comes with it.
Yeah, I do use the cord hook. I use that downstairs, but I don't use it here because I'm always moving the iron around. So
What's the difference between the black and the pink portable models?
Black, the pink, and the sky blue are 1000% the exact same unit. Only difference, color.
I think they're talking about the Titan though and the silver, maybe the difference between those two.
I'll get that. So just everyone understands. So if you're going to order a lift plus, the choices are pink, sky blue, and black. They're all the same. Okay. The grade up from that is called the lift extra. Okay. Comes in, we call it Titan in aluminum. So it's basically a darker color and a lighter color. Okay. The difference between the lift plus and the lift extra. Okay, there's a difference in price to you on that side. Okay, the key difference is on the lift plus. If you look at the face of the iron, okay, if you can see it, there's a little V here, a plastic V. It's a very high-end, durable, heat-resistant plastic. On the front half, remember, because the steam only comes out the front half. Okay, when you put this onto a piece of fabric, that V, what it does, it opens the fabric up to allow the heat and the steam to penetrate and get the job done quicker. Okay, on the lift plus, okay, here's the V. Same V, except the V is metal. You can see that, Pam, the V
Yeah,
on this thing?
I didn't realize that. I just looked at mine to see. Yeah, this
So-
metal.
So this is a later, the most recent version of the we call it the 3D as in David soap plate. In both cases, it's designed to penetrate that fabric, open it up, and get the job done quicker. Now, there's a slight difference in performance, not gigantic. The metal tends to react a little more favorably to fabric. Now, does this mean no? Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole? Absolutely not. It's just a migration of the life of a product. Who knows from a couple of years from now, it may be something different. But in either case, that's the difference between these two folks, okay? Other than that, they work the same. Okay.
So we have a question on that standalone board, the ironing board that you mentioned earlier. Do you know the price point on that, Mike?
Yeah, their price points, I think at $249, $199, $149, somewhere in there. Go on the website, laurastarus.com. It'll pop up. It'll show you visually and the prices. By the way, folks, when you go to our website, make sure you include the letters US. If you don't, you go right to our European website. It's a whole new ballgame. Okay?
There you go.
Not to be confused.
And even though we have just those items on special, we can supply any of the Laurastar products. So just let me know if you see something, okay? Because we are an authorized dealer for them. Okay. Well, folks, is any other questions before we let Mike go and finish his evening? You know, I know these ladies are thinking, why is a good looking guy like that can iron? Why is he not at my house ironing my stuff for me?
Well, Well, let me tell you, you can hire me, but my hours are from midnight to 1 a.m. Friday only. That's it.
Any other questions, folks? They really have loved this, Mike. It's been very informative. So thank you. And a lot of these ladies bought Laurastars, especially during COVID when we were home and I was pushing them a lot. A lot of people bought them. So I know they're like thinking, man, I really got a good deal on this iron. So thank you very much.
Are there shipping costs for these irons?
There is a shipping cost. On this, I will eat the shipping. You know, we usually eat the shipping when we do this price. We eat the shipping on this. I get charged for it, but I don't charge you. The price on the website is the price that you'll pay.
By the way, folks, the product will come from our warehouse in Chicago, suburb of Chicago, logistically wise. Also, just so you understand, when these come, the lift or the system, when they come, okay, they come in a very protective box. When we get them, we put an additional cardboard box over it, right? Because they typically come via UPS. In some cases, they'll use UPS drivers don't really care what they're flinging back and forth, okay? So it's designed to really absorb any kind of, dropping or bumping into kind of thing. It's important that you know that as well. So they're packed properly to get to you in one piece.
And if you have the space, save your box. If you ever need to send it back, it's the best way to send it back.
Well, keep in mind now, on the portable lift, the lift would come back, okay? On the system, the only thing that comes back is that boiler on the bottom of the cross legs. The boiler is about this long, okay? That boiler pops off the cross legs, folks. So it's the boiler, the 7-foot cord, and the iron only.
Yeah.
Come in a box with the system.
Yeah,
Okay?
don't send them the ironing board. It comes off really easy. It's just two little plastic dials that you just turn, and then the whole thing just lifts right off. And there's a plug. You just unplug it, and that's it. So, thank you very much, Mike. It's always good to see you, and thank you for doing such a great presentation. I will make sure you see that link too if you want to send it out when we put it up on YouTube. Okay.
Okay, super. Thanks, everyone.
So the special's good for a week, folks. So get your if you have questions or let me or Mike know, and we hope that you have gotten some good information. So just so you know, folks, I'm back in an hour with Margaret Moorhead. We're going to do a thing on just bags and stuff, but we're going to come on. So if you didn't get that link, go back to your email and get that. And everyone, give Mike a big thank you and say goodbye. Happy sewing, everyone.
Thank you.